Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy EFL show, an international break edition of the Fantasy EFL show for game week 10. Back in the saddle, my co-host, Mr. Ben Green. How are you, mate?
I'm all good, mate. How are you? It's been a while.
It has been a while, mate. It has. Life comes at you fast. It's difficult, but we're pretty good at making sure we're here for the viewers, which is good. So I'm glad to have you back. It is only a League One and League Two roundup this one, mate. So it should be pretty tight for game week 10.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 fixtures in League One, a couple of postponements in League Two as well. So yeah, not a huge amount to talk through, mate. But we'll do our level best.
We will do our level best. And just before we get started, mate, it is the 10th of October, which means it's Mental Health Awareness Day today. I just want to remind everybody, check in on your loved ones, your work colleagues. Just ask someone if they're okay. And you might not be okay. And if you aren't, reach out to us at the show. Our DMs are always open. We'll put a list of all the numbers of professionals that you can reach out after the show goes out. And just look, it's okay to not be okay, Ben,
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, men, female, whoever you are, it's, as you say, it's okay to not be okay. We probably don't do enough as blokes to talk to each other, do we, about things? So, echo everything you said there, mate. If anyone needs to chat about anything, then we're here to help people. Stressful time coming up to Christmas for some people as well. So, not to start the show on a too somber of a note, but we're here for anyone that needs a chat. So it's always worth reminding and calling out when it is Mental Health Awareness Week or Day.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. I agree. And football, in a sense, is a getaway for a lot of people with life struggles. And that's what we're going to do for you. We're going to try and alleviate any of the stresses that you have on by adding some stress to it with going through our fantasy pick team. So, Ben, let's just take a little look at your game week 9 then, teammate. You normally do really, well.
Do we need to?
Yeah, we do, because you've been really good of late and I've been really, really poor. And I always have to suffer and watch how well you do. As we can see, look, you're sitting 9th in the table at the moment. We'll cover that when we go over the table. But 46-point return, mate. Talk us through your team. You had a couple of no-shows as well.
Yeah, a couple of no-show. Baxter and Clayworth didn't play for me last week. I must admit, I picked my team and then didn't look at it Saturday before kickoff. So I know we are doing a show on Fantasy EFL and priding ourselves on being on top of these things. I wasn't last week, and that's the reason why I didn't have 2 players play. But I suppose in all things considered, mate, at 46 points with 2 players not playing, Jaden Bogle only getting a point, then not a bad return. Didn't get anything from my 2 teams. Bolton fought back to a 2-2 draw, being 2-0 down. And obviously Burnley was a tight game. So, yeah, I picked those thinking obviously they would win. Brownhill and Poku got me out of a bit of a hole, mate. So hopefully we can improve on that this week. And you might have noticed since I was last on a change of formation, mate.
I have noticed, and I was going to touch on that. Why the change? Because you was doing so well with a 2-2-2. And then we'll come to my team and see we've sort of had roles reversed here without giving any spoilers away. But what made you go with a 3 in midfield? You've been so adamant about the 2-2-2.
Well, it was tried and tested. I was doing all right with a 2-2-2, and then it was the double game week a couple of weeks back, and I was trying to fit square pegs in round holes and just wanted to get as many people in the double game week as possible. So, yeah, that was what's prompted it. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm going to keep it for this week. And this served me well. It served me well, I think. So I've kept it again for this week moving forward. So. We'll see how we get on. I might be changing. If I have another 46 pointer, I might be changing back.
No, exactly. And you mentioned Clayworth there. Clayworth was someone that I did look at having in, if you want to look back on the game week 8 and game week 9 preview. But he picked up a knock. He was hit and miss. So I bit the bullet. I had to take him out. We'll take a look at my team now then. I did change it up. I did go with the role reversal and I went with a 2-2-2. And I didn't do too bad. I thought I did all right. I picked Whitworth in goal, the keeper for Exeter, who's had 6 clean sheets in 9 appearances. He played pretty well for me, picked me up 9 points. I think above 7 points is sort of what you want to look at. Jack Wadooni picked up had a really good points return with 10 points. Dimitru, who we've advocated on the show plenty of times, has been in our team. He picked up some good points there with a total of 12 points, averaging 9.3 this week. And I captained my 2 strikers. I went with a 2-2-2. I like the fixtures. I liked Harris's matchup against Portsmouth and Charles's recent results for Bolton. A lot of people had Charles in. He was 3.4% selected last week. And I captained him as well in his 9 appearances, 5 goals, 1 assist. So I got some pretty good returns. Didn't get much out of my teams. Obviously, Burnley and Barnsley didn't really do anything for me. Burnley getting a 0-0 draw in the derby to Preston North End. And Barnsley, obviously, I picked Huddersfield to be a team that we thought was going to do really, really well this season. Been really
Yeah,
poor of
struggling a
late,
bit,
mate. Very
struggling.
poor. And of course, the team I picked to beat them, obviously, Huddersfield turn up and get a result in a 2-0 win at home. So, yeah, look, I did okay. I picked up 56 points total. It's moved me up the table a little bit. But thoughts on that, mate? Thoughts on why I've changed the formation?
Yeah, obviously we flip flopped, didn't we? But yeah, as you said, Dimitri pretty much a mainstay though. We're going on to our teams for this week in a sec. I haven't put him in this week. Jack Badoni, player that I really like. Really wanted Millwall to sign him this year, mate. But obviously for the figure that he went for, there was absolutely no chance. Yeah, really like him. And Dion Charles, captain pick. Yeah, not a bad shout there, mate. So yeah, doing all right,
Yeah,
mate. Creeping up the table, aren't you?
slowly, very, very slowly. And talking of the table, we'll have a little look at where we end up here. And you're going to be in there. I'm not, so I'm going to get a neck ache while I'm doing it. But we'll go over the top 10 and we'll look at our top performer. But the top 10 as it stands, Ian Inevitable sitting at the
Did
top, been
did
there for a
notice there,
while.
mate. Yeah, he has been, and there's a little gap being created now. 22 points.
22-point gap, mate. Yeah, he's really setting himself away. But in second place, JPFC has moved back up, who did drop off a little bit. Good point return there with 74 points. EFL Fantasy Josh has been right up there, dropped down into third place, only a 58-point return. And when you look at it, Evans above and Take It Eze picking up plus 60 points, Evans above up to fourth, Take It Eze down into fifth. It separating the pack a little bit because sixth and seventh and eighth, Waymaker, Just Lewitt and Jasper FC, just
And
over the
me, mate.
40-point mark. And then we get to you, mate, in ninth place, who's creeped up. You found yourself outside of the top 10 last week, back inside the top 10 in ninth with your low point return, as we said, into ninth place on your 46 on 571. Only 9 points off breaking the top 6 with running down the wing Yuki, who has been a previous top performer on the show with a 46-point return up into the top 10, 6 or 7 points off of yourself. So that's been your top 10. But the top performer this week, we'll have a look at. And I did reach out to you on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, I hope you do, or I hope you see the show after the fact. Wasn't the greatest of return, but it is still the top performer in the Fantasy EFL Show League. And that's Posh PUFC for the win, managed by BB with a 74-point return.
Who do we think he supports, Joe?
I'm going to take a wild guess. I'm going to say might be
Barnsley.
Peterborough. Yeah, might be. And you can see with his team picks, look, great return from Poku, captain there. That pretty much made up all the points with having Burrows not make an appearance. Dimitri getting his 10 and Whitworth and goal, picking up the 9. Jack Payne in the midfield, making that midfield 3 up. And Josh Madger as the vice captain, picking up 3 with Sheffield United doing the business and Fleetwood Town picking up 5 points. So if you are BBB and you do manage Posh PUFC for the win, well done this week. You've climbed yourself up the table. You're just outside the top 10. And well done on your 74-point haul with your total of 551 points as the top performer in the Fantasy EFL show this week. So well done to yourself. That's been game week 9 then, Ben. not much to write home about for either of us. The league table's starting to take shape now. People are starting to pull away, and you're finding yourself just amongst that top 10, mate.
Yeah, need a strong week this week, mate. Yeah, doesn't help when you don't have two players playing, as I said. So yeah, hoping for a stronger week this week. But if I can hang on to that top five and break into it eventually, then yeah, that'll be that's the aim, mate. But as I say, Ian Evertable, I think he's creating a little gap there, isn't he? So got to keep an eye on him.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And with that, then let's see what you've picked for game week 10, mate. That can see if it can push you into the top five. So talk us through your team, mate. You have kept the three in midfield. You've gone for the
I
2-3-1.
have.
Talk us through
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I've kept the 2-3-1 formation. Obviously, a lot of changes again this week. I've tried to pick players that maybe aren't as popular. So you'd see like Dimitriou's not in there. He has been in my team in the last few weeks, but I thought I'd leave him out again. I've got my Luke McGee in goal. I think I've said on the show before, very close to a few Tranmere fans. They really rate Luke McGee. I think he's an excellent goalie. Tranmere are stronger at home. So yeah, gone with him in goal. You've got the league's top goal scorer in Andy Cook, or he normally is always League Two top goal scorer thereabouts. So hopefully, even if he does keep a clean sheet, McGee might have a lot of saves to make. So yeah, gone with McGee in goal. I've gone Max Clark. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at that Gillingham Accrington game. I think they've got something stupid like their top 4 defenders in the top 15. So you could have picked any of the Gillingham defenders, I think, this week. So I just went with Max Clark. I've got Will Wright in from Swindon. They are away to Cheltenham. Again, low in terms of pick percentage. Only 0.3 of players have picked him, but I've chucked him in. He got 8 points last week, a clean sheet and five clearances. So I've gone with him this week. Kept Poku in. Kept Alex Gilby in. I've got my tried and tested Luke Molyneux. He hasn't been in for me for the last couple of weeks, and I've captained him. And a bit of a punt for me up front. I didn't want to put Andy Cook in to say I've got hope that Tranmere win for my mate. So I've taken Andy Cook out, and I've gone with Omar Bugle, however you say his name, and I've lined him up with AFC Wimbledon as one of my picks. AFC Wimbledon are very strong at home. I think they've won their last 5 in all competitions at home, so I've gone with them. And as I say, another, I'm sure, popular pick this week in Gillingham at home to Accrington. So that's my team, mate, hoping for more than 46 points.
No, yeah, I can't really argue them. And it's a good analogy you got there with Andy Cook being the prolific goal scorer that he is, picking the goalkeeper that he's going to be facing because of them shot saves and them points you get from that. No, I like the team. I like your thinking there. I like your team picks as well. Can't really argue with anything you've done there, mate. And good breakdown of why you picked these players. We'll take a look at my team now, and I have reverted back to a 3 in midfield. I just like the midfield options in the leagues at the moment, where it only is being a League 1, League 2 week, predominantly a League 2 game week 10. I wanted to flood the midfield, and there's one midfielder I've looked at who's 1% selected in teams at the moment, and that's Amani Little of Gillingham. They got a favourable matchup this week against Accrington Stanley. Gillingham sit riding high at the top of the league, top 2, and Accrington right down the bottom at the other end. So I fancy the matchup this week. He averages 5.7 points per game in 10 appearances. He's only got 1 goal, but 16 interceptions in that. So he's getting them defensive attributes. He's made 6 key passes, gets the odd shot away. So I do fancy Gillingham as a whole this week, and I fancy Amani Little to have a bit more freedom in the midfield to help create. And the same reason why I've gone with Aaron Wildig, someone that I've picked a few times, averages 6.7 points per game, 2.2% selective. I've vice captained him this week up against Harrogate. I like the matchup again for Wildig this week. A lot of freedom he has in the midfield, and he's an all-round midfielder in 9 appearances, 4 goals, 10 interceptions as well, but with 5 shots on target and 7 key passes. So he does the best of both worlds in the midfield. So if you're looking at someone to get in, I really do think Wildig could be the guy for you. Look at him to be your captain's picks, and obviously Poku. The matchup with Rotherham's going to be a bit tough, I think. I think Rotherham are starting to find their feet a little bit, but Poku's just been a really good performer. It's not your Haaland levels of performers where you keep him in, like your FPL, but someone you should be looking at every single week. If with fixtures like this, Ben, with your very, very low fixtures in your international breaks, Poku's someone who can get you a lot of points. And then you mentioned him, Andy Cook, the Bradford striker, up against Tranmere Rovers, who you know a little bit about. He's 6.5% selected. You know, people are starting to take notice of Andy Cook, the Bradford striker, and it's paying off in 10 appearances, 5 goals, 10 key passes, 14 shots on target. And it's just an all-round good pick for this week, I think. He's only averaging 4.9 points per game, but, you know, he's picked himself up last couple of weeks, scored a couple, I believe, in game week 9. So someone that people should be looking out for. And then I've gone with Barrow and Gillingham as my 2 picks, purely based on the fact that they're both playing really, really well. They both got favourable matchups. Morecambe are sitting bottom of the league. Barrow are sitting at the top. Gillingham and Accrington Stanley likewise. So, yeah, I do fancy myself with these weeks. I have kept Dimitri in. You mentioned you took him out. But, yeah, that's my game week 10, mate. Thoughts on that?
Just on the team, mate, the only thing I would say, I looked at Barrow. They've had a little bit of a wobble recently. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. Obviously, got a bit of a spanking last week against Fleetwood. Got beat 3-0. So I did look at Barrow. No doubt they will win this week because I looked at them and didn't pick them in the end. But yeah, look, they're top of the league or near enough top of the league. Aren't they? Joint top. I should
Joint points
say.
on 19, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Pretty solid there, mate. I had Andy Cook in last week. I've taken him out this week more from a probably sentimental pick because I don't want him to beat Tranmere, as I say. But yeah, I think you can't go wrong with having him up top and captain him, mate. I think he'll get you a decent return throughout the season if you kept him in. So yeah, pretty solid, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, it is tough, ladies and gentlemen. With only the limited fixtures we have, I think 12 fixtures that we have this week. You are going to get a lot of similarities in the teams. You are going to get them players that is not going to separate you from the leagues because everyone's going to pick the same players. But I hope that we can give you a little bit more insight into why we're picking certain players, and it might give you the edge. Or you might not like our reasonings and you think, do you know what? No, I'm not going to pick that player just because we picked him. And it might help you in that sense. But let's have a little look at the fixtures because we have only got 2 fixtures in League One this week, mate. Crawley at home to Shrewsbury Town, Peterborough at home to Rotherham United, both 3:00 kickoffs. Anything set the world alight for you there?
No, I mean, look, obviously the Crawley-Shrewsbury game, both bottom in the bottom 4, so that's going to be a pretty tight game. Yeah, neither really. Had a look at the fixture earlier in terms of their head to head. Shrewsbury have been quite dominant over the last few years, but yeah, look, I don't suppose either of them would expect it to be that low down in the league, so not one I'm overly keeping an eye on. The Peterborough Rotherham one's going to be an interesting game because again, Rotherham would always expect to be up there, having been relegated last year, and Peterborough, we always speak about them free flowing and free scoring. Peterborough not probably doing as well as they would have hoped, albeit it is quite tight in League One. A win for Peterborough with not many other games in League One will put them in the playoffs tomorrow from 14th, which is mental. So yeah, it's pretty tight in League One. That'll be a game to keep an eye on. And same with Rotherham. I don't know if they'll go into the playoffs. I don't think they will on goal difference, but yeah, they will go level on points with Stockport on 16. So yeah, look, one win in that league seems to shoot you right up. So it's all pretty tight. So yeah, not really much to talk about in League One this week, mate.
No, as you said, look, Crawley and Shrewsbury, only one place separating them both in the bottom 3. Shrewsbury on 5 points, Crawley on 7. Something's got to give there, and very evenly matched, like you said, with Peterborough and Rotherham. You know, both played 10, only 7 wins between them. Peterborough having the edge with the extra win and 1 point. And like you said, it's a big opportunity for them to capitalise on the international break and put some separation against them. And if not separation, at least give himself a full sense of confidence in that. But League Two then, mate, we have got a bit more of a flooded fixture in League Two. It's not a full barrow of games, but we have got a big fixture list. So we've got Chesterfield at home to Notts County, AFC Wimbledon take on Carlisle, Barrow at home to Morecambe, which we spoke about. Cheltenham, guest of the show we had on last week, young Harry Evans. Go and check him out. Really impressive young man. He's Cheltenham Town take on Swindon Town. Doncaster at home to Crewe. Gillingham riding high at the top of the leagues take on Accrington, faltering at the bottom of the league. Harrogate and Newport meet. MK Dons take on Port Vale, Salford Grimsby, and your sort of affiliation, your little sweet spot, Tranmere Rovers at home to, as we spoke about, Bradford City, all on the 12th, all 3 p.m. kickoffs. Apart from an early kickoff, Chesterfield, Notts County is a 12:30 kickoff on the 12th. Anything there, Ben, stand out to you?
I think that's the game for me, mate. A team or two sides that are fairly familiar with each other over the last few years. Obviously, played a lot in the National League and obviously in League Two. Had a look at that fixture between Chesterfield and Notts County. Since they met in 2001, they've had a 2-2 draw that went to penalties, 2-1, 2-2, 1-1, 3-1, 3-2. It's a pretty high score in there, mate. So, if you're looking at your attackers, maybe your creative midfielders, I know a lot of people would have picked Jody Jones. Will Grigg, I'm sure, will be popular as well this week with player picks. But yeah, that would be the fixture to look out for. Also, a little honourable mention possibly to MK Dons and Port Vale, both on a decent run of form. Port Vale have been unbeaten in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and MK Dons unbeaten in their last 5. Played Arsenal 21s in that Mickey Mouse EFL Cup, whatever it's called now. So yeah, both teams on a fairly decent unbeaten run, so that should be quite a good game as well. So they would be the two for me, mate, to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like you said, Port Vale sitting 6th in the league. You've got Notts County pressing in that playoff spot, trying to cement them in there. But you mentioned League One where the points could separate you. I mean, you're talking from
League Two's the same.
League Two is exactly the same. From 13th to right up to 7th, one win can take you into the playoff spot. Wimbledon have only played 7 games out of that, with most playing 10. So Wimbledon, sitting 13th, expect them to make a real charge. They win their games in hand, they could be sitting pretty at the top with Walsall, Gillingham and Barrow. So, and where there is 3 teams that go up from League Two, all these points matter because you can go up automatically, and it definitely makes for a good week. League Two's, in my opinion, probably the hardest league to get out of. It's the hardest league to get back into, in my opinion, from non-league. Only that one spot brings you back up from non-league. So Accrington, only 1 win out of 9. They could really do with a result, but I can't see it coming this week against high-flying Gillingham, who, they've won 6 of their first 10. So, no, excellent, mate. Look, that's been game week 10, the roundup, the fixture list. Pretty happy with that overall, mate. What game are you going to be keeping your eye on? Is it that early game, that Chesterfield Notts County?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. As I say, been pretty free flowing and a lot of goals in the last few years against those two. So that'll be the game for me, mate.
Yeah, I think I'll watch that as well. And if you do like the picks, or you like the fixtures, or there's a fixture that we haven't touched on that you feel like would be a better fixture, let us know. It's up in the comments and when this show goes out, which will be going out as a podcast, probably first thing in the morning or later tonight, and then the visuals, the YouTube, will be going out. But short show tonight, mate. No guest segment. It is only a short week. What you looking for this week? What you looking ahead to? You got any plans yourself?
No plans this week, mate. Fairly quiet one. I'm going to be my usual playing golf on Sunday. One thing just to mention whilst we're going back to the fixtures, are AFC Wimbledon back at home now? Are they playing at home? Because I just thought about that, about their pitch.
Very true, yeah, very true.
Has that been all sorted? So I was just, we had AFC Wimbledon fella joined us early on in the season, didn't we? Edgeworth. So I might have to reach out to him and see what the situation is there before I make them one of my picks, actually. So that's reminded me. But yeah, no, fairly chilled weekend, mate. Obviously, no Millwall to either depress us or give us a talking point. So fairly chilled one, mate. How about you?
No, exactly the same, mate. Exactly the same. Chilled. We'll keep an eye on League Two and keep an eye on League Two and hopefully players from Championship, most League One clubs, your favourite teams and your favourite players come back uninjured and ready to go for the next week. But Any final thoughts from yourself, Ben, before we finish on something else?
No, nothing from me, mate. As I say, hoping for a little bit more of a return than 46 points. And you never know, mate. We might see you in the top 25 soon.
You might do, mate. I doubt it. But look, if you do like what we're doing, just drop a like, drop a share, subscribe. It helps us out and it helps with the guest segments and that as well. And while it has been a positive show, there is something that we do want to end on. Ben, this week, yesterday, I believe, George Baldock, the former Sheffield United right back, sadly lost his life at the age of 31 in Athens in Greece, where he was playing with Panathinaikos. George Baldock made a total of 390 appearances, accumulating 13 goals, most predominantly for Sheffield United, where he made 205 appearances, finishing up at Panathinaikos, where he made 3. Sadly, he lost his life this week. We're unsure of the circumstances around it, but it does just highlight, while it is Mental Health Awareness Day as well, like I say, I don't want to put that down to what's happened to George, but it's been a pretty rough week for EFL, Ben. A predominant EFL player, had a good career, and at the age of only 31, has sadly lost his life.
Yeah, look, heartbreaking. Thoughts go out to friends, family, Sheffield United fans. Yeah, I'm only 34 myself, so when you think of it like that in terms of an age perspective, not that anyone should lose their life, but to lose it at such a young age is, heartbreaking, mate. So as I say, thoughts go out to friends, family, and hopefully it was just something natural and there wasn't anything more to it. So not a nice way to finish the show, but as I say, thoughts go out to everyone connected to.
Yeah, and on that note, we'll end it somberly there. That's George Baldock from 1993 to 2024. Rest in peace.